Today, it's about you. So let's start with this definition of confidence. Confidence is your belief in your ability to figure things out. Now, often you cheat yourself because you think, well, no, confidence is I've done everything I need to do in the world and I have all the successes and I'm on the cover of magazines and I'm rich. And we tell ourselves, I'll have confidence when. But if you're going to change your life, you need to right now adopt a more confident mindset and say, you know what? Confidence, I don't have to know everything in the world. I don't have to be the most successful person on the block. What I need to do is believe in myself and believe in my ability to figure things out. Give me enough time, energy, resources, mentorship, study. I can achieve my dreams. That's where it really begins. Belief in our ability to figure things out. Now, of course, at a deep psychological level, we know that confidence is all about your sense of worth, your sense of capability or ability to do things, and your belief also in not only yourself, but your future. And let me say those couple things to you. Worth, ability, future. If you don't believe you're worth anything, obviously your confidence is there. If you don't believe you're able to go do anything, obviously your confidence is there. Psychologists often call this self-efficacy, right? You just don't feel like you can, be efficacious or be a person who gets things done in the world because you don't believe in your ability. And last, confidence has a lot to do with your perception of where you'll be in the future. If you think you're gonna be broke and a loser in the future, obviously you're not gonna go for it today, right? If you see yourself as lonely and an outcast in the future, you're obviously not gonna walk up to her or him and say, hey, how you doing? And so these are big topics. Your worth, your sense of worth. Today we're gonna really dive in there. Your abilities, we'll dive in there. And most importantly, what's your future gonna be about? First big idea, these are foundational places where we're gonna get you more confidence, okay? There's three big areas we're gonna get you more confidence. Number one, awareness, like self-awareness. Number two, ambition, seeing your future again in a big way. And number three, action, because with momentum develops a better confident mindset. We often think, well, when I change my thoughts, then my whole life will change. Or we think when I do all these things, it's like, no, we have to immediately start taking action because as we get more progress in life or more momentum in life, even if we're not confident, our confidence will grow. So let's talk about these three areas. Number one, awareness. This is so critical. Listen, I think that what happens is you sometimes fail to be as aware as you could about how far you've come. You forget sometimes where you started. Sometimes you forget, all the obstacles you've overcome. And so you never really integrated the wins into your body and your mind and your identity, right? You had some wins. You did good in that relationship. You did good at that test. You did good at that business. You did good on that day. You made that sales call. You helped that person. But you did all these actions and you never changed the perception of yourself. You just held on to my identity is who I was as a child or what my parents told me or what these people told me. And it's been shaped by other people versus you giving yourself credit when you do things. And you've overcome a lot of obstacles, but you overcame them and you're just like, oh, well, what's the next obstacle? And you were reacting to go into the next one or chasing the next one, but you never integrated confidence. I mean, I've worked with major Olympians, major CEOs, super celebrities on the covers of magazines, and guess what? These people sometimes lack confidence. Even though outwardly everyone goes, what, they've achieved so much. Yes, they achieved things. They overcame things. They helped people. And yet they never stopped and said, you know what? Let me tap that into my identity a little bit. Let me allow myself to feel that credit. Let me appreciate myself and how hard it was to overcome these things or even just to survive today. Because once you start acknowledging, having awareness to the struggles that you've had in your life and you still survived and you're still here and you still want to help people and you still want to be good and you still want to love and you still want to build, give yourself credit for that. Give yourself credit for being here. I'm so confident today shooting a video with you because I can remember the tens of thousands of other videos I shot. I know how far I came. I'm getting better at this every day. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep working towards this. And I think that's important that you've overcome a lot of struggles. I overcame bankruptcy. I overcame harsh judgments. I overcame, growing up in a place where my mother was discriminated against. My dad was dealing with, basically like PTSD from being in Vietnam. I grew up in an environment that was incredibly angry and economically depressed. And now I'm living in my dream place. Believe me, I only got here because I gave myself credit every time I overcame those things. I overcame a harsh childhood. I overcame bankruptcy. I overcame failure. I overcame people making fun of me. And all those things where usually those happen to you and you get discouraged, I say, I'm still alive. Good job, Brendon. You still showed up today. You woke up, you got to work. Good job, Brendon. Yes, maybe at the beginning, you're not changing the world, but you're working each day to get there. Come on, kid. Good for you. You know what? Everyone else would have quit. And here you are, showing up, getting things done. Good for you. And even on those bad days where I'm not doing anything, I'm like, well, you know what? At least I'm still a good person. I didn't turn to the dark side when all these people tried to pull me there. Good. Okay, here we go. You got to give yourself that credit. You've come so far. So start with that self-awareness. What obstacles did you overcome? Also, give yourself credit for what you're good at. See, you're good at things, but you don't recognize you're good at things because sometimes you're waiting to be the best in the world, or you're waiting to be like a billionaire at it. It's like, no, you're good at things. People tell you you're good at things. You know that you're good at things, but you just think, maybe one day I'll give myself credit when I've made it. No, if you don't give yourself credit now, don't fool yourself and think you will when you get external recognition. That's what I'm telling you. The movie stars I work with, guess what? Sometimes they never give themselves any credit. They're on their 10th movie, right? It's like, or this big entrepreneur who's on their 5th business, just sold another one, doing really great, still lacking confidence. Why? They didn't give themselves credit. So please make sure you do that. Self-awareness, being aware of what you're good at, and giving yourself credit for how far you came is a foundational element to confidence. And you need to do that every time you go in a new situation. Even if you don't know the situation, even if you're not like, I don't know how this is going to go like, well, I survived all that. I can handle this. You're scared to go to a networking party tonight? You survived your childhood. If you survived your childhood, you can handle a few trips to the punch bowl and say, hey, how you doing? So give yourself a little credit here, my friend. You can handle this. The second big idea I really want you to focus on is your ambitions. Often, when we really lose confidence, we've really lost sight of the future. We're so trapped in today and doing things, and we're busy, and we've lacked that ability to really connect with the dream, to see it, to feel it, to touch it, and let the dream energize you, even if you don't feel good about yourself. There's days I don't feel good about myself, even today. I'm a human just like you. There's days I'm like, there's so much going on. I messed up this thing, and it's easy to do that. But if I detach from the future, I can guarantee my performance goes down. And I can guarantee my confidence goes down. See, part of confidence is you see yourself in the future in a good way. You see yourself in the future having good things, doing good things, feeling good things, making meaning, making a difference, having good relationships. So here's what I want to challenge you to do, if you would. I want you to, every morning that you wake up for the next 5 days, when you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, I want you to lay there and just visualize your life 10 years from now being great. If you want to, like for me, I want to be a public speaker. So I would literally lay in bed in the mornings and I would just see myself on stages and I'd imagine myself speaking. It would make me sweat and get all nervous and weird because I had a lot of anxiety about that at one point in my life. I would see myself in front of video cameras on television, even though I had a lot of anxiety and fear about it. I would force myself to see myself doing it well over and over and over. I would force myself seeing myself making my difference. I would force myself seeing myself writing books. I would just visualize it every morning. And were there mornings I didn't believe in it? Absolutely. But by seeing and being in the dreams in your mind, it trains your mind to be a little more confident. Because when you understand something or see it, you get a little more confidence, right? Familiarity by itself can breed confidence. Think about why you're so confident in the things that you do all the time. Like if I ask you to tie your shoe or ride a bike, you've done it enough times, it's real to you, you can see it, you can imagine it, you can feel it, taste it, experience it in your mind. So you're confident about your ability to do it. Well, now, the future, we need to pull that to your mind today and start having you visualize it more, see it more, because if you can see it, you can achieve it. You've heard that in personal development. I know you have. So that's really important. And then the third big thing I want you to think about today is action, right? Action. I said at the very beginning, momentum develops the mindset. Momentum conditions the mind to confidence. Like just moving forward every day, even at small things. If you just said, every day, I'm gonna do 3 things to move my life forward, and you just did those 3 things every single day. Today, I'm gonna do these 3 things to move my life forward. It could be sending an email, calling somebody, having that prospect meeting. It could be as simple as like, oh, okay, I'm gonna work towards this goal. I'm gonna finish this presentation. I'm gonna create this thing. Whatever it is for you, do that thing. Maybe it's like, oh, today, I'm gonna work out today. Great, you worked out. Your mind goes, I said I was gonna work out, I worked out. I developed a little more confidence because you were congruent with your intentions. See, action is what makes us congruent with our intentions, right? That old thing you've heard me say, if you've been studying my work for a long time, intention without initiative is just sorry hopes. It really is. Intention without initiative is just sorry hope. You have to apply yourself again. And I know you already know this. Listen, a lot of people watching this, you're already a confident person. Okay, what's the next level of action that will raise you up to the next level of success? What's the next level of action and bold decision-making that will change your life? I know you might already be a confident person, so what's your next level of action? Well, Brendon, I already feel confident going up and talking to a person. Great, now go up, talk to 4 people. Good job. Okay, well, Brendon, I already feel good, trying to put out this message. Great, do it again, be more vulnerable. Oh, Brendon, I already feel good, I started the business and I built to this. Great, double the business, let's see you do it. So when you challenge yourself to take actions that are a little bit outside your pay grade, a little bit outside your comfort zone, and you actually follow through, congruence comes in and you go, I set that intention, it was hard, I took the challenge and I made it happen. That's it. It's really, truly it.
What do you do when you feel lost? It's like all the chips are against you, or everything's going fine, but you just feel kind of out of sorts, or maybe you had a breakup, or you got laid off, or the bad news came in from the doctor, and you just feel like totally lost in your life. You don't know where you're going. You feel like you're in the abyss of nothing, and it's just not good. We've all been there before, by the way, and the good news is you can be found again. And you can find yourself again, and you can find vibrancy and joy and passion and health again. If we know anything from the human story is filled of only 2 main themes. One is struggle, and the other is progress. So believe that you can survive this moment. Believe that you'll find your way through. Have confidence. And confidence is just that idea, that belief in one's ability to figure things out. You've made it through the tough times before. Even if this is bigger than you can handle it, you will be able to make it through this one too. So here's 4 ideas on what to do when you feel lost. First and foremost, whenever you feel lost and you're just unsure, call a friend, go out with some friends, sit down at lunch or dinner with them, and just start talking. Be like, here's what I'm going through, here's what I'm feeling, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Because one of the greatest ways to find ourselves again is to get perspective. And you know how it is, you go out with your friends sometimes and they're like, hey man, well, it's not so bad, or hey, remember when you did that, or hey, let me help you. If you're lost, it feels like you want to resign in life, you want to pull away, and the thing is to engage. Find that family or that friend or that one person who's a positive mentor or relationship in your life, and go out and just talk it out with them. If you have a life coach, call them. If you have a therapist, call them. But you must engage with somebody who can give you some perspective, who can help you have some good positive energy as you're dealing with this. Because the worst thing that you can do is suffer through it alone. In our own silence comes suffering when we're lost, when we're confused. So engage with people. Trust me. I know you might not want to. I'm not in the mood, Brendon. That's what I'm saying. I'm lost. I'm like, trust me. Find somebody to engage with. Have some conversations with. It'll help you get out of that, because in good, positive social relationships, we can start to find our footing again. Second, and this is related, is do this. Go volunteer. I really mean that. Again, I know when you're lost, you don't want to do anything, but go get around people who do have a little bit higher level of energy and charge, who might have a little bit more connection with a mission or with purpose. It doesn't matter what your volunteer activity is. Go volunteer on a domestic abuse hotline. Go volunteer at a local soup kitchen. Go volunteer at your local school. Go volunteer Junior Achievement, Kiwanis, YMCA, Rotary, Lions Club. Look, there's millions of great nonprofit organizations out there dying for some help, and you can be that light. And sometimes it's in giving that we receive. Sometimes it's in serving that we find ourselves. And so if you're feeling lost, trust me, re-engage, go give somewhere. And tell you what, you'll never get around more positive, more engaged, more amazing people than you will when you get around the spirit and the heart of servant leaders. People who are volunteers, who are giving for no other reason than to give. And I can tell you, having been in nonprofit organizations my entire life, and giving and serving and being side by side with people who are so just genuine and so interested in helping other people for no other reason than they spiritually thought that was a good thing to do, it lifted my spirits. The third thing you can do is to read. I know that you'll like this one because if you're lost, you want to go within, and Brendon, you've been pushing me out into the social world, but listen, read a good book. Go pick up a great personal development book. Go pick up your Bible or your Quran or whatever spiritual text that you love. Go read something that will help you feel better, that will help you find your way again. I remember in college, after I suffered a very severe bout of depression and suicidal thoughts, I started reading great books and it started making me feel better. You know, I read some of the greats and the classics. You know, I read like Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. Paulo's one of my great friends and mentors, and I've helped him with his books, and he's been such a great influence in my life now. I read books like, I think it was Benjamin Hoff who wrote The Tao of Pooh, as in Winnie the Pooh, that taught me about Taoism. I read The Tao of Ching, and that helped me feel a little bit better. And then I started reading Wayne Dyer, you know, and Stephen Covey, and I started reading Dale Carnegie and listening to Earl Nightingale, and I'd read Og Mandino and some of the classics from personal development that helped me start feeling better. And they didn't give me all the answers and everything, but they started sparking ideas about living a better quality of life. They gave me that will, that motivation, that hunger for something again, and sometimes ambition. Sometimes wanting something better, that's good to help us find our way, to start taking, you know, some more action in our life, which leads me to my suggestion number 4. Get momentum by achieving small daily goals. I mean, you hear me say it all the time. Look, if you woke up and you just decided, I'm going to achieve 3 goals today. And if you're really lost, one of those goals might be, I'm going to shower today. You know, one of those goals might be, I'm going to call somebody today. I'm going to go have that lunch like Brendon told me today. One of those goals might be, hey, I'm going to go volunteer and help some people today. Just like Brendon said, whatever it is for you, set some goals and start getting some momentum. Yes, maybe these aren't goals attached to your life purpose because you haven't figured out everything yet. But it's in living life that we start to find what's meaningful in life. So start knocking off some goals again. Start moving towards the things that you have identified that you do want more of. It could be basic, like get a little healthier, eat a little better, sleep better, talk to better quality of people who are more positive. Just get out there, start achieving some things, just get some small steps towards living a better quality of life, and you'll start to find your proper path in life. You'll start to feel better. You'll start to experience once again the charge life. Ambition. But too many of us back away from it because it got made bad, right? I was scared to have ambition because you know what? If you have ambition too big for your britches, people start insulting you. Who do you think you are? Oh, you think you can do that? You don't even have any skill at that. You think you can do that? You haven't even had their training. You don't have the degree. You don't have the experience. You don't have the background. You don't have the social following. You don't have the environment. You don't have the money. You don't have the bank account. You don't have the credit. You don't have...
And people start puking on you when you share your big dream with them. You're like, hey, look, no, listen, I'm trying to go up here. This is where I want to be, right here. I got this dream. It's huge. I got this ambition, this dream, this hunger for more. And immediately people seek to see whether or not you are qualified. And they judge you based on your past of qualification versus your present of how you show up. I don't judge anybody on their past. Actually, let me see how you show up right now. Because everybody in this room, how many of you all screwed up a bunch in your life? I mean, oh man, I'm such a screw up. It's so great. We're all screw ups in some way or another. But how are you showing up now is the question. How hard are you willing to work now? What's the discipline you're willing to put in now? Yes, gain that knowledge, skill, and ability, but your ambition, everything I do, everything you see me do at a public level, I had the ambition for a mission, but I didn't have the skills to do any of this. Everyone thought I was crazy. I'm gonna leave a safe job out of grad school. I got a safe corporate job. I wouldn't say a safe corporate job, but it was a good job. And I liked it, and it was a good job, and it had a very clear path to rising. And I had something else I wanted to do. So I quit that job, and everyone else said I was crazy. I wanted to go write books. I had never written books before. I didn't know how to do that. And then I decided my first major book was going to be a work of fiction, a book called Life's Golden Ticket. And I'd never written a parable before, but I remember reading The Alchemist and being so inspired by Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. You all read that book? I hope you all read that. It's now the 7th most read book in the history of the world. It's unbelievable, right? So and the longest running book on the New York Times in history is now The Alchemist. And I remember reading that book, and I thought I related with the storytelling in it. And I wanted to write Life's Golden Ticket, but not tell my story, my accident, but rather tell the story of a character going through change. And I got this blessed meeting with a big famous author in San Francisco. And I was so excited. I mean, because I've been wanting to write. So I went and had this big meeting with this big fancy author. I wore a suit and I got all dressed up and I was so nervous. And I sat and I talked with this person. And he's hearing me describe very passionately why I want to write this book and what my life's message is about second chances. Because Life's Golden Ticket is really a story about second chances. And so I want to tell a story about second chances. And I was so excited. And I'm telling him, and he goes, so wait, this is your life's message? I go, yeah. And he says, you're really passionate? I go, yeah. And he goes, but you've never written fiction? I go, no. And he goes, Brendon, I'll never forget, he goes, Brendon, do not risk your life's message on your freshman effort at fiction. Fiction's hard. I admire that you want to write this book and that's your dream and that's your ambition and that's your goal, but you don't know how to do that. Ambition's really hard. People go to writers' conferences for their lives. They get creative writing degrees. Like he said, everyone in this building, I mean, we spent decades trying to figure out how to do fiction and you're just gonna come and write this fiction book. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you need to write a nonfiction book. And what happens is we have this big aspiration, but because we don't know the how, sometimes someone tells us you don't know the how, so what do? If you don't know the how? Yeah, you minimize it. You drop it back down to here. Maybe you drop it back down to here. Maybe it's like here. It started up there, but you didn't know the how, and you let other people drop that down. So I listened to the guy. I said, okay, I guess you're right. It's true. It sounds logical to me. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So maybe I shouldn't risk my life's effort. So then I spent 2.5 years struggling in San Francisco, trying to write Life's Golden Ticket as a nonfiction book. And it was like pulling teeth. I couldn't get it, it wasn't working. And then it was so frustrating. And I was like, I need to figure this out, because it was the time I was about to leave my job and everything, and I was putting everything at risk. I said, okay, the timing all turned out, went back to my childhood home where I grew up, tiny little home, tiny little bedroom, writing on my mom's sewing room table at the time to complete the book. And in 18 days, I said, you know what? I gotta stop trying to write the book they told me to write and write this book that I feel like I should write. And I started all over from scratch, complete scratch. 18 days, all I did, I got up, my mom made an amazing big breakfast. I'd eat a big old breakfast and I'd write and I'd write and I'd write. But Dad would come home from work, we'd go play racquetball. I'd come home, I'd write and I'd write and I'd write until it was so dark and my eyes hurt, it was so late. And I'd get up from my desk and I'd walk around my childhood neighborhood where I grew up and my school, my elementary school and the playgrounds we'd play in. And then I'd go back, go to bed, I'd get up and I did the same thing for 18 days. That's it, 18 days. And at the end of the 18 days, Life's Golden Ticket was done. Submitted it to, thank you. It was 18 magical days. If you've ever read the book, there's a huge surprise at the end. I didn't even know that was coming. I did not see that come. I mean, sure. So however shocked you felt, imagine me. I was writing the book. I was just typing along, watching. I'm like, oh, damn. I remember I'm watching the movie, I finished the book. I'm like, whoa, can that even happen? And I literally got up and I was walking around the little desk and I'm like, can that character, did I do this? And I had to go for a walk just to think about if the book could even end, because I didn't know the book was about to end. It just ended with that scene. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was a huge surprise to me, and I knew it was magic. We put it out there, 21 publishers turned it down. 21. My agent still jokes to this day, he only told me about 19 of them turning it down because he didn't think I could take the other few more that came in. Turn it down. Finally, boom, HarperCollins gets it. An editor who happened to edit and publish another book called The Alchemist fell in love with Life's Golden Ticket and gave it a shot. We put it out there, and I got this dream to be this big author. I'm gonna go. We launched Life's Golden Ticket. I have no idea, none, what I'm doing. Put the book out there. We get a bunch of quick early hits because I had all these promotional partners in these nonprofits we were donating money to who supported the book. Got it out there, boom, charts on Amazon, really great. Next week, no one's buying it. Totally, this ambition just keeps getting stomped down. No one likes your book. Big author says it's stupid. They're all turning it down and it doesn't sell. Think about what that can do to your psychology. Think about me now saying I'm a writer. After the book doesn't do well, after everyone turns it down, after they say don't do it. Think about that, where that could have directed me. But your ambition is your own. And your ambition has to be free from all of that negative. If that's a real ambition, you got to own that ambition. Psychologically, I was a writer. I said I was a writer. I said I was a writer on days I didn't write. I said I was a writer on the days they all turned me down. I said I was a writer when that guy who was a big name fancy writer who'd been on all the big shows, including Oprah, told me I was kind of crazy, and I walked out of his office all dejected. I was still a writer. Sometimes what really gives us the greatest amount of motivation is when we got the guts to actually allow ourselves to tie some of our identity to what we're doing. And we're told not to do that because it can bring discouragement and heartache. But the counterintuitive things is high performers to a T, the top 15% who I interviewed, they said, oh no, they were comfortable tying up their identity in what they were doing. They were comfortable. It didn't mean it always turned out great. It didn't mean they always felt great, but they were comfortable owning it, right? They were comfortable owning what they were doing. They owned that, and because they owned it, the motivation was there. Because you know when the motivation isn't there is when your ambitions are half-ass. When you kind of want it, you kind of don't. And that's why you kind of work for it sometimes, and sometimes you kind of don't. Because psychologically, you haven't allowed yourself to own the ambition, to feel it inside and say, that's part of me. I'm gonna make that happen, come hell or high water. I didn't care the first book. I said, maybe the next book, maybe the next book, maybe the next book. Didn't matter to me. I was gonna keep on that ambition because it was important to me. You've got ambitions important to you and your family and the people you're serving, and it doesn't matter what I say or the person to your left or right says. If you own that ambition, you pursue it, and you pursue it with full heart. And when you pursue it with more heart, that ambition, that keeps sparking over and over and over. You don't have to rev yourself up because it is you.
This is going to be one of those sessions where you go, got it. That the reason we do personal development, it's ultimately all about new ways of accessing self-awareness, isn't it? That when we hear new ideas in personal development, maybe just a slight change in how we think about something or how we think about ourselves, life can change. Just one little subtle shift in how we think about a topic, in how we approach something in our life. Those subtle shifts can make a big difference. And this topic today is that. We're talking about setting boundaries. I'm going to talk about how to think about this topic of boundaries. So we're going to be talking about on boundaries all day long. And I think you're going to be really amazed in the simple hour of how much you're going to cover and learn today in your own self-awareness in a way you probably haven't thought about boundaries before. Because what most people do when I say, the topic of setting boundaries, they immediately think of like, I need to set boundaries with my family. I need to set boundaries with this jerk in my life. I need to set boundaries with, by the way, we'll talk about those things, but I'm going to elevate the conversation for you. If you'll forgive me, go a little more advanced on this topic, because I think that's the power of Growth Day. It's not only just hearing the common sense things, but maybe hearing a little more advanced approach to these topics. And I think that is the promise of today. So thank you for being here. Let's do some personal development work. We're talking about boundaries today. And here's how I'm going to start with this. The most important boundaries you're ever going to set in your life are with yourself and what is acceptable with who you are, what is acceptable in how you conduct yourself. A boundary between the good self and the not so good self. A boundary between the higher level of who you are versus the lower impulses. A boundary in your own sense of what is right and wrong and what you allow yourself. In other words, we're going to go into the conversation of standards that we allow in ourselves and in our lives. And I think when you think about a boundary, not just something between you and another person, but in your own mindset about what is allowed or not allowed, I think this could be a game-changing conversation today. And I'm going to jump right into it because I don't want to speak conceptually for you here. So let me talk about some important boundaries in your life. I'll talk about 3 huge internal boundaries. Then we'll talk about the standards that we allow in our life that may be really hurting us or accelerating us. First one, I think you guys are going to love this. So you can grab a screen grab. I wish I was prettier with my fancy camera, but here we go. I think you're going to like this one. The boundary of the fake self versus the real self. Take that screen grab. You got to get this. See, this boundary and what you allow here and how you conduct yourself here, it matters, doesn't it? When I talk about setting boundaries, very few people ever think about this one. Because when we talk about setting boundaries, we often feel victim to something. We feel like, oh, well, someone's encroaching on my boundaries. We'll talk about that. But this is the one that causes the real damage. When we blur the lines between who we authentically really are and how we are showing up to please or placate others, to minimize ourselves. That's the boundary. How much do you cross this boundary? You want to talk about the quality of your life? How much do you cross this boundary right here? Think about this. How much, how often do you cross this boundary? That can be the game changer in your life today. When you become aware of these 2 selves that we all have, the authentic, the authentic, the real, the vibrant self versus the face, the facade, the person we try to be for others. It's not really us. When we step outside of ourselves into a persona of somebody else to please others, to fit in, to belong, to get love, this is the ultimate boundary that breaks our own integrity. This is the boundary that makes us miserable. And you have to decide at some point in your personal development that you don't cross this boundary as much anymore. And at some day, not at all. And that is the ultimate work of personal development, isn't it? How easy it is to glide into conformity, to go from who we really are to suddenly acting out of character. I really believe breaking this boundary leads to most of the long-term miseries in our life. Let me say it again. Breaking this boundary leads to most of the long-term miseries in our life. When we aren't honest about our real thoughts, feelings, desires, dreams, hopes, aspirations, and instead we show up just to please others and to fit in, we minimize ourselves. We enlarge the falsehoods in our life. And see, there is this thing of a boundary, right? There's a boundary between true and false, fake and real, authentic and inauthentic. I know we all might use different languages. I'm very aware that this is an international audience. I just think you've got to figure that out and get highly attuned to when that is happening. When people talk about mindfulness, they're often talking about, ooh, look at the flowers over there. Let me notice the sensations in my body. When they talk about mindfulness, they often think of, let me just drink in this moment. But the most critical and important part of mindfulness is to know who you are and who you are being in any given moment. Because I know a lot of people, they can appreciate the flowers all day long, but they're miserable because they're not being themselves. Listen, write this down. Boundaries are all about identity. Boundaries. The most important boundary you will ever set in your life is, who are you? What's in that circle of who you are? And what's outside of that? Who are you? Who are you not? In other words, just bringing back my little picture here, the fake self versus the real self. That's the ultimate boundary. To be mindful of when I cross that. Oh, it's so important. I know a lot of you out there, you're influencers, you're creators, you're leaders, you're caregivers, you know, and you can recognize how often you have to step into a role maybe you don't want to be in, or maybe you're in a situation where you have to hold back a little of your own truth for decorum. You have to put on a shiny face and not freak out on your child. You have to calm yourself down because you want to scream at somebody. That's self-regulation. That's okay. That's allowed. We have to do those things. What we are talking about is an enduring sense, an enduring recognition or mindfulness of how often we are crossing these boundaries. This is a conversation of frequency, isn't it? Because sometimes we have to do a certain behavior that's appropriate. We're going to talk about that later. Right now, I want to shift your whole brain. Oh my God, setting boundaries in my life is all about, who am I? Who am I really? And am I showing up as that consistently, with intention, with joy, with flow? That is the thing we are actually talking about, not just boundaries about, you know, what you'll allow on your plate from others. It's about who you are. The more often you break this boundary, the more miserable you are. I really want you to capture that. I know you're coming like, geez, Brendon, thanks for the personal development today. Can we get some dancing bears and balloons? Make this a little more entertaining, dude. This is a little hard, but this is why you might be miserable. And I don't say that in any judgmental way. I've been there and I've coached thousands of people through this. We got to get you more on this side. We've got to be aware when we break a boundary, who we are not. Very key. You want to change your life, you also become vitally aware of this other internal boundary. And this is this one. Your old self versus your new self. You got to know what happens is you have these patterns or these habits, these ways of thinking that were shaped by others. You have this old identity and you have the new you, who you are today as a conscious, intentional living adult, right? This is when you drop into your childhood fears and concerns. And this is when you are in the moment as an authentic, conscious adult, right? I know not everyone loves this language, but I think it's important. And I've had to say this, listen, just for context, I know so many people are new into GrowthDay here, but I've been coaching people one-on-one for 16 years of my life, 16 years. I've worked with people from all walks of life, 100+ countries. I've had the blessing of so many millions of people going through our programs and getting immediate feedback, but also I do this one-on-one with people for 16 years. And sometimes as a high performance coach, I have to push a little bit. I always say I'm paid to push. I have to sometimes jar people or help them see themselves or recognize something. And so I know not everyone will like this language that I'll use, but sometimes I'll say with a client directly to them, I say, is that the high school self? Or is that you as a leader? And what I'm helping them recognize is this versus this. There is an old part of you or old set of patterns or habits or beliefs that you have to be aware that might not serve you, and they cannot break the boundary into the now. Who knows what I'm talking about? Anyone? Does this resonate with anyone? I see. Okay, good. You got to know when that boundary is broken. Oh, my high school self just walked up into this room and smacked everybody in the face. You got to know. You got to know when you lose it. You got to know when that childish, smaller, older, less competent, less secure you shows up in the moment, breaks the boundaries of time. The time zone boundary just got broke, right? Time zones are a boundary of time, aren't they? That's what a time zone is. It's a boundary of time. And sometimes we allow that boundary to be broke with old thoughts, old beliefs, old insecurities, old selves that do not belong in this moment. And so I know not everyone likes it when I call you or call a client high school, because that's not really that kind, because I knew a lot of kids in high school who were wise and centered and incredibly remarkable and spontaneous and creative and giving. That wasn't me. Just letting I just want to let you know, people. Okay. So when I say it, what I mean is that childish, dramatic, overly selfish, repugnant, like little high school kid that got all worked up and angry and had no emotional regulation, no connection with intention and vision. So maybe it's not appropriate to say that. I'm trying to give it to you as a metaphor, though. Is there, and that's why I like this language, is there an old you that shows up once in a while and breaks the boundary into the now? If so, when does that happen? Let me share with you one of the most important concepts in setting boundaries is to recognize when that happens. Same thing with this one. When do these breaks happen? What's the pattern there? Is it when you're under pressure? Is it when you're feeling defensive? Is it when someone judges you? Is it when someone doesn't comply? Is it when they insult you? Is it when you fail? Is it when you're feeling discouraged? Right? We all know this. It happens in our lives, right? Imagine the truth of how many of you have ever been on a diet or a new health program and you're like, I'm building a new self. I'm going to get pretty. I'm going to get, in better shape. I'm going to do all these things. And then you have a bad day and you're 3 seasons into some Netflix show and you've murdered like 17 bags of chips and popcorn and 2 bottles of wine. You're like, oh my God. Well, something happened to make you break that boundary of the new self and the old self, isn't it? An old pattern of conditioning came back in and you went to a creature comfort versus a higher intention. You went to a creature comfort instead of a higher intention. You knocked out that conscious, willing, forward-looking part of you, and you went into coping zone, and you might have went into an old coping zone. I got to know my old coping zones versus my new coping zones. The way I used to cope might not be appropriate in this relationship, in this career, in this role, with this person. Are you guys geeking about this? I love personal development for this conversation. It's a new way of looking at things sometime and go, oh, yeah, man, I never thought about a boundary as something internally that I'm breaking between old self and new self, fake self and real self, and dialing when that happens. This is why I really want to encourage every single one of you. Please, please, please make sure you're going into your GrowthDay app and using the journal to capture what's going on in each of your days, to capture your feelings, to capture when you break a boundary, to capture how you wish you would have shown up, led, performed, interacted, or communicated. Your journal is the most important part of GrowthDay in my perspective, because the break that you might be getting here, you get that every day when you reflect about yourself and you see, when did that happen? When did I go backwards? When did I break the time zone here of old self, new self? What caused me to cope that old way versus this way? It's in thinking about it that we discover ourselves. It's in self-reflection that we discover our future self. It's in self-reflection that we discover our future self. This is the power of journaling. We all hope to have happiness, to have kindness, compassion, love, energy. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like a power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. See, what a power plant does is it takes energy from one source, rushing water, spinning turbines, windmill, nuclear, whatever it is. It takes energy from one source, and what it basically does, it takes it from that source and transforms it into a higher source and then transmits it. That's what a power plant is doing. It is transforming and generating a new, higher level of energy. So for those who go, oh, my partner is such a jerk. My team at work, oh, they're so negative. They're so awful. I am here to tell you, guess what? Okay, so your job is take that low level of energy and convert it into a higher level of energy. Who's an entrepreneur in this room here? You ever heard that definition of entrepreneurs? They take one level of value and they 1+ it into a higher level of value, and that's why they get paid so much. It's about taking value and amplifying it. Well, energy is that way too. But what we do is we blame energy. My energy is this way because, listen, if you saw my schedule the last 6 months, you would cry for me, Argentina. You'd be like, how is he still standing and running around here like a little Energizer bunny? How is he doing that? Because everything over the last couple months, you'd be like, oh, that's not possible. It's because I don't hope to have energy. I generate energy. We can all generate energy on command. You did it this morning. Remember when I had you stand up and I just had you speed up your mind? Who liked that this morning? You got to use your mind for energy way more often, but you can use your body too. Watch, put your stuff down, stand up. Let's try something. Who's game to try something up in HPX? Let's try something together. Put your stuff down. Because by my watch, it says the chicken just hit your stomach. So as you're standing, all I want you to do, bounce in place. Close your eyes, swing your arms, take 10 deep breaths. We're gonna do 2 activities now. Take 10 deep breaths. A deep breath means your neighbor can hear you. You breathe in through your nose, your stomach comes out, you breathe out through your mouth, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, bounce in place, swing those arms.
Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. You're doing good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Okay, good. Now, we're just getting warmed up. Now, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna do an activity called Qigong. Very simple. We're gonna open up the meridians of your body. If you don't believe in Eastern arts like meridians of your body, then in science, there's things called nerve cells. And they're on your skin. And when you activate them, you feel differently. And when you move your body or your skin around, you move the lymph, which also gets things generating. And if you move your body, you also activate your lung system. So hey, guess what? Call it meridians or call it science. Here we go. What we're gonna do is take a nice deep breath in, a nice deep breath out. Now, for those who have never done this before, this is gonna be super weird. So if you thought it was gonna get weird, this is the part. You take your hands like this. In Qigong, it's called cupping, because you're cupping, cup out your hands. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start at our lower left ankle, and we're basically gonna pat, called cupping, and we're gonna move up our leg like half an inch at a time. And then we're gonna do our right leg, then we're gonna do our hands, then our sides, and then our back. So for those who don't do it yet, watch what it looks like when you do your left leg. You just come to your ankle, and all you're doing is just cupping, patting, and you're moving up the top of your leg. That's all you're doing. Go around, pat your ass, because you've done a good job so far. Nice work. Set it down, breathe in. Then we'll do the next leg. Then we'll do the arms. Then we'll do the sides. And then we'll do the back. If this sounds crazy, wait till you see how you feel. HPX, are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Left leg starting at the ankle. Let's see how you do. Cup your hands, and the idea, put positive intention and energy into your body. This is an act of love. Coming up around. Now you're patting your buttock. Your buttocks, sir. Okay, good, good. Set it down, breathe. Feel better already? We haven't started. Next leg, let's go. You're doing great. Good job, good job. You guys have it totally unfair. You have chairs. Here we go. Reaching around back. Good. Nice and strong on that hamstring. Harder on the hamstring. Good, good. Set it down, breathe. Woo! Breathe, nose. Woo! Breathe in through the nose. Woo! Good. Stick that left arm out. Let's go. Fingertips. All my students know I do this every 50 minutes, including if I'm on a plane, in the bathroom. The things they think are happening. Okay. Shoulder is down, strong on the shoulder. Nice and strong on the shoulder. Good, release that shoulder. Breathe. Breathe. Good. Fingertips, next side. Let's go. You're doing great. The hotel is wondering what we're doing in here right now. What happens to these Burchard events? Set that shoulder down, release that shoulder. Nice and strong on the shoulder. Breathe. Breathe. Good. Now we're going to bend slightly at the waist and on our lower back. From here, take 10 deep breaths. That's 1. 2. Keep breathing. 3. Keep breathing. 4. 5. You're doing great. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Stand, bounce, shake out those arms. Shake out those arms, shake out those arms, shake out those arms. Okay, now just stand and march just real lightly. And notice the energy around your body. Now just kind of sway side to side. Just notice the energy. Oh, yes, keep breathing. That's good. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Okay. Now, keep breathing. As you're swaying, close your eyes, and I want you to refresh your mind. Just like we did this morning, maybe you speed it up. Maybe you're Einstein and your brain is going faster, or you see fireworks, or you're readying your body to run, leap, jump, take off, serve, command. You feel strength in your body. Your mind is revving up though. It's getting clear. It's getting excited. It's getting back into this room to be present, to transform your life for other people, that you're gonna do something for yourself here to serve other people. It feels good. Your mind is revving up, baby. You're feeling it. You're feeling it. Take another notch up. Put a big old smile on your face with your eyes closed. Just breathe. Oh yeah. Okay, open up your eyes and look around to all the beautiful, vibrant people around you. Give yourselves a round of applause. And give 5 hugs like you just won the lottery. Go. Have a seat, you beautiful people. Woo! The power plant doesn't have energy. So let me tell you a secret of my career. You know, I've had the blessing of shooting 30 plus online courses. Many of them 5-week online courses, really long. Some of you have ever logged into them. Just checking. People are like, how have you done so many? I really believe we all have the same hours in the day. The difference, I believe, is that some people are doing strategic resets throughout the day, and other people are burning themselves into the ground. Who knows the difference in this room? Who's had some burnout in the last year? Who can own that that was your responsibility? See, the power plant is either running at a capacity that is too high and it's gonna blow itself up, or it does something called metering the energy. To meter the energy. Larger power plants, they meter the energy. Sometimes they turn on and turn off just to set and reset, set and reset, set and reset. My great competitive advantage in my whole career in terms of productivity, every 50 minutes, I do that. What you just did. Every 50, it took a while to explain it, but really, you're just going like this, you're going like this, you're going like this, you're going like this, you're off to the races. Close your eyes, set a new intention, and go. See, anyone ever follow like race car driving? See, that's all? Okay. So they put a track there, and little cars on that track, and they're real fast. And they go in a circle real fast, like 200 miles an hour plus, fast, scary. And they don't go the whole time. They pull over and they do called a what? Pit stop. When they do a pit stop, the crew comes in, boom, and it goes off again. Now the car didn't need the pit stop when it got the pit stop. The pit stop is a preventative maintenance activity. Meaning, we're gonna set this thing up so it has more energy to go further. It probably didn't need the refuel at the moment, but it took the refuel so it could go longer. Some of you grind and burn, and you do it all day, every day, and it's a grind and it's a burn, and you're not replenishing. You're not doing what we call a strategic reset. For me, it's on the hour. Every hour for 20 years, I'm doing a reset. I never sit at my desk for 3 hours, and I'm a writer. I sit at my desk. Now I have a thing, my butt hits the ground. I hit a timer, 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Boom, I write no matter if I'm coming up with genius level stuff and that thing goes beep, I stop. I stand up. I might do a few downward facing dogs, a little bit of vinyasa flow. I'll do my qigong. I'll go get water.
take a big drink of water, full glass of water, come back, ask, what's most important for me to focus on this next hour? What's most important for me to focus on this next hour? What's my intention here? Now, the difference is a lot of people go all day grinding and burning out, and then they get to the end of the day, they go, oh my gosh, I didn't do the thing. Because they only checked in once. Most people check in once if they're on priority. I had 9 or 10 pit stops. How many follow? Most people, they want to work. I got no energy. Well, of course, you burned all day. 6 o'clock, I'm getting warmed up because I had my pit stops. I'm fresh. And the power plant generates the energy. So I'm going to generate the energy. I also think this follows true in your relationships. You have to take responsibility of the energy in your relationships, and you've got to generate the energy. I always say, love them so much, they become lovingly annoyed by you. Because what most people do, they try to put good energy into the relationship, and then they back away. They try, they back away. They try, they feel discounted, they go away for 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 weeks, 2, 3 years. And then they go, oh, it didn't work. Oh no, energy is daily. You want to shift your team, you want to shift your relationship, you want to shift your own energy, you've got to win the energy game. More than any other game in my life that I've won and tried to win, it's the energy game. Because when you're abundant with energy, you can do anything. But remember, the power plant doesn't have energy, I want you to create a higher level of energy in this room, right? Here, just deciding to we're gonna go to this other level. We're gonna be extraordinary. So tell the person left, right, shake them, say, be extraordinary.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.